Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Big drama emerging last night with regard to sound equalization. It was a big talking point during the main CDL season, and even now it's over, it's still a big point of frustration for many players. $1,000 chal goes down between Dashy and co, ProLoot, MuTeX and Cellium on the other side, and they pretty much admitted, yeah, they had sound equalization on. Dashy wasn't happy about it. TJ the other day said it's a sad state of affairs that the players are still doing this when it surely should so easily be gentlemen's agreemented at this point. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, just a quick update here on the Halo Global Invitation. I believe this is in Salt Lake City. The current tournament is going down, and this is just the group stages so far, just to keep you guys up to date. So really, it's FaZe, SSG. Those are the teams right now. OpTic are trying to get back to where they want to be. They did lose to Sentinels though, final game they played of Pool D. So you know, puts them in an interesting spot. They still make the bracket no problem, but yeah, they're not looking quite as dominant as FaZe and Space Station are as it presently stands. And of course, Sentinels topping Group D at the end of the day, Quadrant topping Group C, solid team for sure. But yeah, as Formal says, the bracket starts tomorrow, so I'll keep on how that one's going over the next couple of days. Also wanted to mention that there has been a potential release date revealed or whatever for at least, well, reveal date released, shall we say, probably the other way around there, for Modern Warfare 3. It's in the Warzone files that I think usually how they do these reveals nowadays is like in Warzone somehow. August the 17th is the date that we're hearing for the Modern Warfare 3 reveal date. So a couple of weeks away from when we might get some indication as how the game's going to play, and certainly Dead Silence has been a big one. A lot of the pros, they want Dead Silence back, they want the red dots back, and you know, pretty much every pro is in this opinion. And to be fair, the game we just played, Modern Warfare 2, would be a lot better to play and to watch, to be honest. With Dead Silence in play, red dots back would be great as well, and then also just some better maps that, you know, the maps this year honestly weren't too bad compared to what we're used to. Looking back to MW19 and like yeah, even Vanguard, I think what we had this year was probably better. Vanguard had Tuscan, which actually was a legitimately good competitive map, and this year's game, okay, Hotel, it was pretty good. Maybe it wouldn't like go into my all-time list of great COD maps, but we still did okay this year map-wise, I think, compared to the last couple. But I think we could do an awful lot better if they put some of the throwback maps in there, which for some reason never arrived. Now, Dead Silence is probably the main one that like every pro player wants back in the game. And the frustrating thing is that older CODs, despite having Dead Silence, some games, such as Black Ops 3, on, let's say you go for a wall run and you've got, well, you're chucking on Blast Suppressor, and even though you might have Dead Silence, you might have Blast Suppressor on, you still make some noise. Wall running always made a little bit of noise, even with Dead Silence, and Blast Suppressor means that, well, when you jump around and use the jetpack, it doesn't make as much noise, but it still makes some noise. And the way the game was played at the time, that was fine, right? I think if someone's wall running, you should be able to, if you're really listening, you should be able to hear probably a little bit of a sound cue from that. But the problem becomes when people go back in the day and they find out that actually loudness equalization still works on the PC for those old games, and they decide to abuse it against really their peers. And this is where I just don't understand some of these COD kids, to be honest. Like, you're playing $1,000 chal against your mates effectively, and okay, you might not be so friendly with them, but still, at the end of the day, you're all COD players looking to go and play a throwback game for a good time, and yet you're going to turn on a, well, something to really abuse the way the game is played to gain an advantage. Now, like, everyone wants to win the money and all this, but I just don't think that this is the way that it should be done. So over the last few days, there's been a few chals going down. There was especially like a Dashy, TJ on the same team up against this roster here. So we've got ProLoot, Illy, and Cellium was the team at the time, and then I believe MuTeX came in last night. We'll see in a second. This is a really nice 1v3 as well from ProLoot, and it's good to see the Kuda is the meta nowadays, to be honest. I know that people miss the VMP meta, but the Kuda was always my favorite gun from like the very first beta that I played of this game. I always loved the Kuda, and I would always use it even at times over the VMP and even over the Vesper, despite the fact that the Kuda was like not actually as good at the time. But now the Kuda's meta, so I'm loving it because this is like my best gun ever, to be honest. And ProLoot clutches a really nice 1v3 there to get the victory in these chals they were doing. So cool stuff, and this game is just so fun to watch. Unfortunately, it's been somewhat ruined by loudness equalization coming back into effect. If you guys don't know about this, it's a setting in the Windows PC settings. You go in, you turn it on, and like you can just hear everything. I think it dulls down some of the effectively the sounds that are really loud, like gunfire and stuff. It dulls those down a bit. The sounds that are really quiet, such as footsteps, it raises them up a bit, and you get very different audio levels to what Treyarch intended when this game was released. And you can hear basically everything. So Daddy Moo Moo or MuTeX and co, they're playing these chows, they take down Dashy, and yeah, Dashy has a few words for him.
EQ merchants, dude. Actually typical.
How many what?
I think the only thing saving fucking God is LAN at this point.
Yo. GG's, boys.
Yes, GG's, man.
Dashy, do you want me to help you set up your audio?
Nah, bro. I'm good, bro.
He's not a
Good
virgin.
shit,
He's not a
bro.
virgin. He's not a
Shit,
virgin.
you guys are godlike, man. You guys are godlike, man. Good shit. Good shit, man.
Gonna get our Twitch banned? What's wrong with you, bro?
Good shit,
Yeah,
man.
bro. I'll be back.
I hope you guys wanted the cash that bad. It was worth.
You hope you're not talking to me. I told you I'd take it off.
You didn't.
I told you I would. You said it's too late.
Yeah, because you really wanted to take it off, Charles. Good shit.
Shut up, dude.
Good shit. No, good shit. Good shit, go. I'm not even pissed at you. I'm just saying, good shit, dog.
Oh, I can hear the sarcasm, Dashback.
Because it's clearly sarcasm.
I told you I'd take it off. I could also set you up with it.
I don't care, dude. Actually kills the most dope ever, dude. Like, how broke are people, dude, that win a child, dude? Like, good shit, man. You want a child legit in August? An off-season game that's 7 years old.
So if you guys don't know about MuTeX, I'm sure some of you will remember this classic time when he actually was involved in the competitive COD scene. He moved on after this drama to go and play Warzone, really, on like kind of competitive content level for the last couple of years. And I think he just missed out on qualifying for the Warzone finals that was in the qualifier a little while ago, and the Warzone finals is in London on, I think, the 16th of September. But he used to be very much involved in the S&D community, and right at the start of the CDL, he was signed to Dallas Empire, Legendary Brands, of course, no longer existing, as their search and destroy analyst, like reserve player analyst. Now, I forget what word he said on stream. He said something that he shouldn't have said, and they released him. They weren't happy with him, they got rid of him, and they say, you know, we seek to exhibit a professional standard and all this stuff. So, you know, he's offered an apology, and we do believe that he's got a long and promising future in esports and Call of Duty, but, you know, we want to create this better environment, so they dropped him, basically. And then MuTeX came out with the famous statement where he says, to big L for you guys, realistically speaking, not gonna lie, he says, you'll never find anyone with a passion for search and destroy than me. And in fairness, you know, people clowned on him heavily at the time, and of course for good reason, and over the coming years, he actually did really well in Warzone, but he's still known, like, and people, like, you know, sometimes people say, oh, you've listened to his voice, he sounds like the type of guy to use loudness equalization on Black Ops 3, and he might be right about that. And it's just frustrating to see this is occurring, because, you know, a lot of us love these old school games. But if you want to go back to play them on PC now, with loudness equalization in play, even though dead silence did exist, and let's say a game like Vanguard that had Ninja, actually loudness equalization wasn't as big of a deal as it was, let's say, in Cold War, where there still was some sound to be heard. Even going back to Black Ops 2, dead silence has not always been fully dead silent. There's often been some sound cues you can pick up, and that's probably fine if the loudness settings and the sound settings are made as they were intended to be made. But unfortunately, with loudness equalization being discovered, you tend to find that players have a different approach to this now. And it is sad, and TJ mentioned this the other day, who was on the team with Dashy. He was basically saying that it's sad that these players will abuse this and kind of ruin the experience of these older games. And Dashy's frustrated about it because he just wants to play some Black Ops 3 for some money against another team. But look, if Daddy MuTeX had it on, then you gotta think that did his teammates have it on as well? Because he was teaming with Cellium and one other guy. Like, did Cellium turn it on? Cellium's the type of guy that if there's, I know that Cellium and Dashy are boys, of course, but if there's ever something that can get exploited in the game, you'd think that Cellium might have done so. So there's a good chance that Cellium had it on as well there. MuTeX certainly had it on and straight up admitted it. He was like, yo, Dashy, do you want to give you my sound settings? But it's like, what's the point doing that? I kind of get the point that maybe if you're playing random chals against a random team of 3 that happen to be still grinding this game, then, you know, you're going to use everything to your advantage because you don't know if they're using it, which is fine, I suppose. But when you go to play players that you know and surely respect on some level, CDL, you'd think that you'd make the game better for yourself by just turning it off and being a bit more reasonable. But apparently not the case at all. And even against, even when you're playing Dashy and TJ and these guys, still going to keep it on anyway, and just make the experience worse for everyone's ears and make the experience worse for everyone anyway, despite the fact that surely we're just here for a good time at the end of the day. And of course, it does come back to align with what Octane said recently about, basically Boston going to hell for abusing all the sound equalization last season. This was done in the CDL, and it was a big talking point as to why it was banned on LAN. Let's not forget, the CDL have basically officially said this is not allowed, and at the LAN events, we are going to manually disable it on all the computers. But when you're playing at home, they couldn't really do that. There wasn't really a good solution to using it online, and even in scrims, the players would use it, and it was an absolute mess. Going into this upcoming game, we're hoping if there's dead silent, it's less of a big deal. But players will still use it if they can feel like they're going to get any advantage. Because let's say somebody mantles halfway across the map. Even with dead silence, there's almost always been some sort of sound cue for mantling. And, if you've got loudness equalization on, you can hear that. And this is why players will probably continue to abuse this as long as the CDL allows it. But it's also kind of ruining these, these online chals and stuff. Now, look, for these chals, you're not going to be able to do much about it. I'm sure that if game battles even still exists nowadays, a lot of people are using loudness equalization, which is a shame. But really, there's not much you can do while it's a Windows setting that is enabled and possible to be used while the game is being played. But when you're a set of pros up against another, set of top streamers and challers and this type of stuff, paying some pretty high roller wages for $1,000 or whatever on the line, you'd think at that point some sort of gentleman's agreement should come into play. It should come into play in the CDL. It's the same thing as far as I'm concerned with snaking. Like, snaking, it's difficult to police in gentleman's agreements because let's say somebody crouches or goes prone to reload their gun and stands up again. Is that a snake? No, but if someone is deliberately doing it again and again and again 5-10 times in a row, like we've seen plenty of times before, then I think that's quite clearly blatant snaking. And I'm of the opinion that that type of snaking can be GA'd and should be GA'd if the players actually had integrity, which unfortunately they don't. And this kind of goes onto the sound equalization story as well, that it's a big talking point. It's funny because I thought that after the season was over, we'd stop talking about this stuff. And hopefully next year the CDL will have a better solution. But no, the season is over and we're still talking about it and there's still drama about it. And there's still a lot of players that want to have integrity and want it gone. And I'm sure Dashy would prefer that everyone didn't use it and the game was played as it was meant to be played, but unfortunately some players disagree, and even classic great Call of Duty titles are getting somewhat ruined at this point by the way it's being played. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, I suppose. And just to close out here from MettalZ CDL, I believe Roosevelt did a beautiful graphic to rebrand Crone's account going forwards. Best original competitive maps. Quite a good question really, because the best competitive maps in the CDL era are Raid and Standoff and probably Express, but look, those are throwback maps that were brought back from Black Ops 2, whereas there are some maps that have been introduced from the start of the title, such as Moscow. Tuscan, I actually think might be the best. I mentioned it a few minutes ago, kind of coincidentally, but I genuinely think that is if you got rid of the stupid breakable walls and stuff, the woods, like that was a bit annoying, but outside of that, it was a great competitive map. Moscow was up there as well. I was never a massive fan of Moscow, I've got to say, compared to some of the other maps in the game. I will say, like, Modern Warfare 19, we've got Hotel in here, which is a bit questionable. Gunrunner was legit good, and the other map that I would throw into the picture here, I loved this map for Search and Destroy, was Arclov Peak. That was such a good map for Search, in my opinion. I know it was a bit controversial and all this, but and it was just so big and wouldn't work for any other game modes. But for Search, Arclov Peak was legit a great experience as far as I'm concerned. So, just for Search, I'd throw that into the mix as well. But very much interested to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.